Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's webinar, which would be on model-based definition. So I'm your host, Chirag, and I'll take you through the procedures as to how model-based definition helps us when compared to the two-dimensional drawings which we use. So we have so I'll just take you guys through the objectives as to what we would be doing. So we would be initially getting into what a digital thread is. Then our topic overview will be based on model-based definition and how we can get that inside Creo view and how we can use Creo view to read those information which we have created in a model-based definition. And then again, a quick live demo, which I'll be showing those two things. Then we will have a Q&A. You can post your questions in the questions tab. And yeah, so a little bit about myself. My name is Chirag Rao, and I'm the technical specialist here in Boundary Systems. And I have previous experience with different CAM applications. So I'm a CAD CAM specialist. So we are now PDS Vision. We were formerly known as Boundary Systems. We are a platinum resellers and we are a global preferred resellers, service providers as well. So we have different locations around the world. As you can see here on the map, we have locations scattered all around the globe. And our capabilities are consulting, implementation, professional training, cloud, and help desk as well. So a quick timeline of how PDS Vision was started and how Boundary System got merged in with PDS Vision. So Boundary System was started in 2006 in Cleveland, Ohio, and Boundary System became the preferred Windchill partner in 2009. And in 2018, PDS Vision Group acquired Boundary Systems. So now we are collectively known as PDS Vision Group. We are a part of PDS Vision Group. And in 2020, we acquired the Net company in Germany as well. Now, I am currently located in the United Arab Emirates. We have different locations in South Africa, India, USA, Sweden, and most of the European countries. So these are some of our strategic partners. So main being the PTC, and we have other partners such as ZWCAD, Moldex, 3D, and Keyshots. So the digital thread concept, this is how the communication is flowing in a manufacturing environment. So as you see in the first circle, you have your CAD, you have your CAD data management, you have your simulation. All those information is in the first circle, and as you grow out of the circle, everything needs to be interconnected. So digital thread basically creates a closed loop between our digital and physical worlds, which basically which helps us transform how the products are engineered, manufactured, and serviced. So just a quick slide as to how the information flows through each department. You have three categories: as designed, as built, and as maintained. So you have in as designed, you have planning, and then it moves into the design concepts, and then you have detailed design, which then moves into production planning, and then you have your actual production, and then moves into the delivery and operation. Having this bird's eye view, which makes certain process faster and easier for our manufacturing as well. So here's a slide which gives you just a quick differentiation between your traditional 2D drawings and your model-based definition approach. So in your traditional drawing, what happens is the 3D model which you have, you then take that into your 2D drawing, place your instances, and then manually type in your GD&T and PMIs. So here with model-based definition approach, you can use the GD&T advisor to basically tag it to the 3D model itself, which you have already created. So a couple of things would include like the 2D is human readable, wherein the model-based definition is machine readable. So now with traditional approach, you have those drawings, and it also depends on how a person interprets a specific drawing, wherein the 3D with the model-based definition approach, it basically relies on process and data. So the data which you have created, the 3D model which you have created, you can just go through the information which is already present, the dimensions which is already present in the model. You can use them to depict and visually see where exactly your dimensions are. Again, it's your traditional approach is a bit labor intensive, so you have upfront encoding in model-based definition approach. So you have universal accessible data in model-based approach, and you have multiple proprietary data formats like DWG formats, PDFs, drawing formats, and so on. So when basically designers develop when designers develop in 3D using Creo and other application, the products and process information is basically projected into 2D drawings and some literally on papers, which is not machine readable. It takes the manufacturing or quality control engineering to manually enter GD&T data and other vital information into their CMM machine and CAM machine, wherein with the 3D approach, you have those data already present inside the 3D model. You can just use them, you input them inside your CMM machines or CAM machines. So in the new age, as you know, in the new age of internet and digitalization, we do need to upgrade from our manual actions and get into the newer trend of approach for a couple of these drawings. Again, the question might arise why we need model-based definition. So just to simplify a couple of points, which would be 2D drawings are a bit tedious and time-consuming. 2D drawings are additional asset to be tracked and managed, so it cannot be inside a single part file. So you need to have a different template, you need to have a different drawing extension, and it has to be managed maybe in your Windchill or in your network data as well. Model-based definition also helps you in increasing your technical communication and efficiencies. So it's easier to read, as you can see here, a quick example of a small photograph of how the model-based definition would be. And it's easier for us to just jump into this part and see, okay, so this height is around 40 millimeters or 40 inches, and then start understanding how this model would look and how it should be machined, right? So here's a quick example of it. And you have, again, like I said, it helps us in visualization and understanding. So it decreases the error which we see in most of the errors which we see in 2D drawing based process. It decreases such kind of errors. So let's jump into our Creo, and then let me just quickly walk you through the process of what we would be creating and how those things would be creating. So the first thing what I would show you is a completed drawing so that you have a visualization as to how this would look. And then we would go into an empty format and start working on these. So as you can see on your screen, the model is already created, and we have a couple of datum points and or tolerances or dimensions, which are already present here. So at the bottom, if you see, you have your combination states. I have a couple of these combination states here, one which says model only, so that I can work on those only on those models and then not worry about all the other dimensions and the GD&T tolerances and so on and so forth. So I have another one which says default, which has my default information like some warning notices in case if there is a contract number, and what kind of corporation this is, and some more information on that. Then I have a sitemap where I have a couple of these data here on the left-hand side, which are basically flat to screen. And then I have some of these data which are tagged onto the model. When I say tagged onto the model, if I rotate this model, you see the nodes also gets rotated. But you see the nodes which are on the left-hand side of the screen are stationary. That's because some of these need to be stationary. Some are just nodes or some information which is on the screen. But as you can see here, some of these information which are tagged onto these on the model would tell me specifically which combination state to go to. So if I need something to do with this reference, I can just control click on this, and then it moves into that specific location. So if it's hyperlinked. So I have these. We'll go ahead and see how we can create this and how we can link them to these combination states as well. Then we have a couple of other things. I have my titles. I have my tolerances if in case it's needed. I have my signature, design signatures, and my part numbers with respect to my company, and so on and so forth. So then I have my properties, which tells me, which gives me information of what kind of properties I have here. If I just scroll this down, scroll this up here, and I just expand my body, you see that with the body I have the alloy, the aluminum alloy, which has been tagged to this body, and I can just bring that up here with the help of parameters, right? So, and then again, each combination state has its own information. And nodes. Say if I need to give specific nodes to my machinist, I can add them here, export them, and then send it across to him so that he can read them as well. Then I have a couple of more specific information to a specific area. Say for the example, this bold circle, I need a couple of information to be added. So I have those things which is added here. And also the section data as well. You can see how I can add information to the section data as well. So default all again shows me the entire information which I've added, and it'll show me how it's visible in all the information combined together in one single window. So I can add any number of combination states, and I can have it from 3 different places. So one is directly at the bottom here. I can say plus sign, and then I can add a new combination state, or on the top left corner of my screen which says new, and I can go ahead and add that here as well. The another thing is in the quick access bar, I have the view manager option. If I set it to all, I can go ahead and add new combination state here, and I can go ahead and add that. The only difference between me creating one here and me creating one here is how the combination state gets created and that gets activated. So if I create one here, if I say new, that doesn't get activated unless and until I right click on it and say activate. But if I say on the left hand side here new, and I click on it, it creates a new one and it activates the new one as well. Okay, so let me just quickly jump into my empty format so that we can start with our off with our information here. Start adding dimensions. We can start adding nodes to this. So there are a couple of ways of doing this. Now, what I would do is the first thing I would just leave it at model only so that it's empty so that I can not worry about all the information which is there, like the dimensioning, the tolerance, and so on, and just focus on my model. But let me just move into default and then add a couple of nodes which are here. So the way I go about doing this is just at the top, I have my annotate tab and I have my information, everything here. So there are a couple of ways of doing this. Now, if I need to add some information or notes, I can quickly click on this notes and start adding my notes here. If I need things to be organized, if I need it to be a bit more organized as to where these nodes are placed, how, say, for a specific combination state, I need all the nodes to be combined and put it under a single group, I can go ahead and do that. I can start by adding an annotation feature here. So I can say annotation feature, and I can say, I can give it a name. Let's consider this as MBD 0 and default. I'll just name this similar to what my combination state is. And then from inside this, I can go ahead and add nodes. So whenever I start adding nodes, you notice one thing when I move my mouse over this side of the screen, you see how it's skewed, right? That's because it's referencing the front plane through the help of these annotation planes. So I don't want this to reference the front plane. I just want it flat on the screen. So when I click on flat on screen, you see how it becomes flat to the screen. So I click on this area and I can start typing whatever I need. But I can also have information imported inside this notes. So the way I go about doing that is at the top right corner here, I have note from a file. So let's say, let me just get into my working directory and let me say I need to add some ITAR text here. So I just go, it's just a text document. You just type in whatever you need. If it's a default document which you have, which is repeating to all of your drawings, then you can have that saved in your text document and you don't need to type it again here. So I do that here and exit out of that. And then you can see the note which is added here. I can do the same thing here again in case if I need to add more notes. I can go back here to my working directory and again say maybe limited rights. So I have something with my rights and the contract information, the contract address, and so on. Right? So I can, in case if I need to add some information, I can go ahead and add that as well. I can edit this and then I can go ahead and add information here as well. So notice one thing here. If I just scroll down, I have my mod MBD0 default, which is created. If I say OK, if I just expand these, I have two of these nodes which are inside this. That means now it's easier for me to navigate from the combination state, saying that if I get inside combination state, I know that because of the annotation feature, I have two of these nodes which are added into this combination state. So it's easier way of organizing your work when you start working on these examples. Now, I'll quickly jump onto the sitemap here, or maybe let's stay with the default. I can add another node which is like a security warning or security marker, or maybe your company logo which needs to be added. So I'll just name it as security marking. This can be your logo. It can be any of those things. So I'll just go ahead and increase the size of this. Maybe not so much. Yeah. So I have the security marking right at the top here, and I add this to as security marking. What this does is, no matter which combination state I move into, it still stays there. So this would be specifically imprinted on our view, and it would stay there like a copyright mark. Maybe consider it as a copyright mark, right? Now let's shift into the sitemap. So The sitemap, it's not necessary. We need to keep this in consideration. It's just easier when we have a lot of combination state signed here, and it's easier for us to navigate as to what combination states associates with what area of which area of the part here. So let's say I add a couple of these. So let me say increase this, or let's keep it there. Say MBD2, I'll say titles, and then I click on this small hyperlink icon and then add my titles here. So I have my titles added. I add another node, and then maybe I'd say MBD7D, which would be bolt circle, or maybe let's not say 7D, let's consider 6, because that would be our datums, right? So let's add that link here from the combination state. So the reason I'm able to add these things here is because the combination states have already been created. So once I've created these combination state, when I click on hyperlink and drop down on this, it shows up directly there. Now, so these are just flat to screen, right? So we saw how in the previous example as well, how we just added notes and information to the flat to screen. But now say I want something tagged onto the model itself. Let's see how we go ahead and do that. When I click on this notes, expand this notes, I see leader notes. Currently, you see that it's grayed out. The reason why it's grayed out is because I have my annotation plane, which is set to flat to screen. So I'll go ahead and change this to maybe bottom, or anything which with respect to which side you want to view. In my current case, it's bottom. And now I can see that the leader nodes shows up. So now what I'll do here is I'll just quickly say face location. I'll say this area, because this is the bold circle area which I need to mention, and then just tag it here, and then type in my information here, which kind of what is my combination state here. I know it's a bit wonky now, so I will go ahead and do that, do changes to that as well. So let's first go ahead and add our hyperlinking here. So now what I will do is just right click, select this, and then say change orientation. So I can give it a specific orientation. Say I'll say oriented to specific plane, and then I would rotate the text so that it's visible on our side, right? So now you can see how it's tagged onto that model. However, I move the model, it gets tagged onto that. Similarly, I can add more nodes. Say, for example, I want to add something for this face. So I'll select face here, and I'll say this one. And again, this would link up to the MBD6, which is datum, and this information will be under data. So I can go ahead and do all these things here and change the orientation of the part, get it to 7A, get it to flip, and then rotate the text to 180 degree. Right? Say sometimes what happens is whenever you are tagging these locations, your leader which is here goes behind these things. So you can just in such instances you can just right click on this and click on move to plane. You can select your plane and then it gets moved to that specific location. Right? I click on this and again I'm back to the orientation. So once I have things done, I just hit update here and it gets updated there. Say I want to add a couple of titles. I can go ahead and add a couple of titles again, get back to node, flat to screen. Let's say, again, we'll bring something from our text document here. Let's say we have our design signature, which needs here. Notice one thing here, which is my design signature. It says my name here. The reason why it says my name is if I just go inside and edit this, and you see it says & designer name. So this is calling out a specific parameter from the parameter which I've set. So what I've done here for this to show up is I go back into model, I say get into parameters. You can see the designer name which I've created. I can just click on plus sign and create my own parameter and just assign it a value. And then I can call that value right here so that whenever I do this in my computer, it shows up here. Notice a couple of other things which just says & test approval. All these things were not added in the parameters. Oops, sorry. All these things were not added in the parameter, and so that's the reason it just shows up the string name there, right? So I can do that with multiple informations here. And in this case, when it's flat to screen, I can move my model around and this does not move at all. This information does not move at all. So I can go inside properties here and let's add something manually here. Let's say I need to add material information. Let's bring this size a bit up. Let's say 5, and let's say material information, right? So here I'll say material, and then I'll use a parameter which is PTC, right? So when I directly type that, you see how it automatically changed that to the material here. I can also add finish. So for finish, if I need to see quickly verify what my finish would be, say if I just scroll down, let's say I need this material underscore finish to be shown up there. I can just come back here and say, okay, so this part here is material underscore finish, and it shows me, okay, it's a hard anodized material, and it's saved inside my parameters. So I'm just calling those parameters here, and it gets saved here. So similarly, I can add and remove nodes. I can tag those nodes to the specific location in my model. I can do all those good stuff. But what if I need to add dimensions, right? What if I need to add specific dimensions here, which needs to be added? And how do I add the geometric tolerances and so on and so forth? So for this, what I'll do is I'll set my annotation plane to the bottom, and I have my dimensions. So notice one thing, you can add dimensions just like how you can add dimensions in your 2D, or you can bring in information which is already present in the model. Say if you have added dimensions in your 2D drawing and you've created this model in the sketcher and you have your dimensions there, you can bring that information as well. I'll show you both. First, let's get into the dimension here. So I'll just select my surfaces. I'll say this and this surface, I need the dimension here. So I have my dimension here. The only thing which I'll do here now is just get this oriented right. So let's say I'll change my orientation. Let's keep it at bottom. Let's just rotate this by 180. And yeah, so let's place it here, right? So once I place this here, I need a couple of more information with this dimension. I just don't want the distance of that slot, right? I need the tolerance value which needs to be input here. So as you can see here, when I click on this dimension, my tolerance opens up, and I can set it to symmetry. And then I can say none here under tolerance value, and then I can set my own tolerance here. So I can say it should be plus or minus 0.05 in millimeters. So you might have a question. At times, what happens is whenever we are creating these tolerances, we need to make sure that our configuration option, if we go inside our configuration and make sure that our template, which is one of our configuration option, which is the tall display, that needs to be turned on, which is, if I just search for tall underscore display, so this needs to be turned on in your part. So what happens if this says no? Say currently, if I've set this to no, what happens? Let's see that. So let's save this. You see, when I click on this, I have this grayed out. You might have this issue initially when you're designing. You don't need this, and your value is, I mean, your tolerance value is grayed out, and you come into the model-based definition, and you'll be like, hey, I don't see my tolerance values here. So for that, it's always good option, good idea to just go inside here, just search for your tolerance display, make sure it's turned on, it's set to yes, and then you have your tolerance display activated here. Just a quick reminder here as to how it's there. So I'll go ahead and add a couple of more information. I'll go ahead and add a couple of more annotations. Let's say we'll go ahead and add this. And this, I need the orientation to be the diameter. And again, I'll have my tolerance values, which is added, the diameter, which can be, again, at 0.05. And let's go ahead and change the orientation here. Let's set it to 180 degree and have the orientation here. Notice how my annotation here or my leader here, it's going inside the part. So what I can do is press and hold right click, move it to plane, select the plane, and then it shows up on the plane here. So I can go ahead and do that as well. The same thing here. Just a quick note here, right click, move to plane, select the plane, and make sure it's visible to you in this current orientation. Right now, in case I need to add more, I can go ahead and add more. But what I need next is to add the geometrical tolerance. I can go ahead and add geometrical tolerance manually here. I can tag it to this location, and I can start typing in my geometrical tolerances, right? So I can say if I need to add some, say if I need to add a positional tolerance for this, or maybe a perpendicular tolerance with respect to this, then I can go ahead and do that. But what I usually prefer, I usually tell people to do is go inside your application. Once you have your information here, get inside your GD&T advisor, and then you have your information here already present. So on the left-hand side, you can see the advisor tree where it tells you that a couple of these information are missing. For example, should be set as a datum feature or reorder for the slot 1. So let's say let's start off with the simple whole, because that's on the top here. Should have a datum feature to reorder. So I'll right click on this and edit. So before I do that, I'll show the show hide constraints. You can see here which are fully constrained, which are partially constrained, and which need information. So I'll right click on this, edit, and then go ahead and add a couple of information here. So I'll add a segment here. I know that it's 8.5 plus or minus a dimension is here. I'll add a segment. So in this segment, what I would do is for this, I would go ahead and say, let's say it's a perpendicularity here, and it should be within 0.1. And then I would keep this as a reference itself, or I can have maximum material condition, or I can have least material condition for this. For now, I don't need to have any of these information. And I can go ahead and reference this. For now, I don't have a datum tag. I don't have a datum feature, so I would not refer this. But I would still go ahead and create one reference feature, datum feature here, and add a label B to it. So notice these skewed lines which are present here. That's because it's telling me that it's perpendicular, but it's not referencing any of these surfaces. It's not referencing any of these datum tags. So this I've created for a reason. I'll go ahead and create the other one and then add a couple of the information here. Okay, so let's add some information for GD&T advisor here with the slot. Let's say edit again. And let's add a segment. Let's set this to position and make sure we have our value set here, which is at 0.1. And let's set this datum feature to be C, right? And let's have, we'll add a DRF here. Let's say this is B, but with a maximum material condition. So what this does is, this tells me, this basically now tells me that, okay, it's a maximum material condition. So this is referencing this point, and it's telling me that it's the maximum material condition, and it's referencing this B value. So this slot is referencing this hole, which has the maximum material condition present. Now I'll go ahead and quickly add another one for this planar surface. You can see this planar surface here. I'll go ahead and add, I'll not add a dimension, but I'll just add a segment here. So when I add a segment, I'll say this segment should be with respect to flatness, and I'll say 0.05 as my flatness. I'll make sure that this is my datum A, and yeah, I'll go ahead and create that here. So that gets added here. So in case I need to change my orientation, I could quickly come back here and say, okay, change my orientation, flip it and rotate it by 180 degree, and then make sure I move this right where I need it so that it's clear from this. Now, since I have my ABC datum tags, you still have this skewed lines here, right? So I'll exit out of this. What I can do is now go back into annotate, select my GD&T here, and then I can add a datum reference. I'll say add a datum reference A for this, and now you can see how I can add it manually there, and then these skewed lines gets removed. So in case if I need to add something here as well, I can go ahead and add it here. Instead of having a B with minimum material, I can say, okay, so add A and then add B here. And in case if I need to add a symbol, I can come here and add my symbol here as well. So I can add it this way. So I have my positions here, I have my perpendicularity here, I have my flatness here. Another thing which I needed to add here is my flatness, my surface here, surface tolerance here. So I'll select this. I know that this would be the planar surface. This would be another planar surface. If I just select this, it will show me which it is. And then I can say edit. You can see these options getting smaller and smaller whenever I start adding some geometrical tolerance to it. So it shows me as to what is important. You can see this DRF not referred. So we need not worry about it. We can just go ahead and delete it because that's not necessary for us. But things like one or more dimension is missing, that's because it's considering plus or minus 0, and there's no condition wherein the whole is plus or minus 0. There should be a tolerance assigned. So that's the reason it's giving me that error. So now let's go ahead and add a datum here. Let's consider this again as surface. You see how it's highlighting what I can present for that specific location. But when we are trying to do it manually, what happens is it gives me all these options. You can see some of these options are grayed out, but when we add manually from the annotation tab, so I get to select what needs to be present there. So I need to keep that in my mind that, okay, so I cannot add straightness to that. I cannot add roundness to this area, but I can add surface profile. But this makes it a bit more easier for us, wherein I can go ahead and select the surface profile, and then I can start adding my information here. So I have 0.2 here, and I'll say the reference that to A. That's okay. And let's say okay. So I have my information here, so I can keep it here. right? And then just exit out of my GDNT here, right? So the same thing here, right click on this, move to plane, select this so that it moves to plane, and select this, make sure it's visible for us, and make sure we change orientation, rotate this by 180 and flip this so that it's visible for us. And in case if this pointer is not clear enough, I can move that pointer wherever I need. Now all these are tagged, geotagged to the model here, and whenever the model moves, all these tagged information moves with it. So I can do the same thing for all these information, all these other options here, but let's go ahead and do that for one of these here, which is our bolt circle. So what I'll do here is, first thing is, I told you how we can actually add dimension, but this time I'll say show annotation. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll say show annotation for this bolt circle, and you can see the annotation which is present here, and I can go ahead and quickly select that annotation and say okay, and then make sure that that annotation is selected and it moves here. So again, let's go ahead and change the orientation. Let's say, yeah, let's say this is 7A. Let's flip it. That's there. And we are okay with that. And let's go ahead and move that to the plane here. And you notice these arrows. We can go ahead and change that as well, just to make sure that, just so that it's clean. We can go ahead and do that as well. Now, what I need to do here is what I need here as well is my tolerances. I've not changed my tolerances here. I'll just keep it at 0.2. I'm fine here. I'm fine with this tolerance here. Let's go ahead and add the same thing. Let's go ahead and add some GDNT information, tolerance information here. So let's say this is the pattern which I want to add to, and I'll right click on this and say edit. So I'll add one of these, right? So let's add the first one. Let's say it's position, and with position, I'll say it's 0.2, and make sure it's a common zone reference, and then with a maximum material condition, and then let's go ahead and add a couple of let's go ahead and say it should reference A, B, and C datums. So I don't have A, B, and C in a single line. So what I can do here is I can quickly go ahead and select A and then B and make sure that this is just referencing it, and then the C, which is again referencing it. So I can go ahead and add those, and I have ABC datum features here. I can say okay, and it gets created here. So I have this here. Now you might come back and say, okay, so I need this to be more specific. I need this to be even more precise. I need to add another one. So what I'll do here is I'll go ahead and add another one, which is perpendicularity, and I'll give it a value which should be at 0.05, again with a common zone reference, which is again has a minimum material here, and which is just referencing A. So I have that. Now, say I've created this, but I need a little bit more information. I'm saying that so this is a position location and it has 0.2. Let's go ahead and add another composite frame. Like for this bolt circle, I say that it can move around with a tolerance value of 0.2. But say I've not mentioned what should be the tolerance value, at what distance can these holes move with respect to each other, right? So let's go ahead and add another. Let's go ahead and add something extra here, which is another composite frame. I can go ahead and add another composite frame so that I make it more precise and I have more information here. So I'll go ahead and add that here. And in this scenario, what I'll do is I'll just reduce the information here. Let's say 0.1. And again, it should reference A, B, and C datums, right? So once that is done, I just exit out of here, and I have this. this is a bit more precise for me. I'm telling that this bold circle can move with respect to point 2, but each holes inside this bold circle can have a variation of point 1. So I can have that as well. So this way I can go ahead and add information, and once I've done with the information, I just go ahead and update it so that it's set there, and I have different information in each of these combination state which I've created. I can as well have a combination state with the section view and have more information with respect to that. So let's say again I go ahead and hit a dimension and I tag this here. Make sure that this is somewhere placed here, and again get some of these information changed so that it's diameter, and yeah, in case if I need the orientation to be changed, maybe it needs to be on the top or the bottom, I can go ahead and do that as well. So I have my information here, so I'll just go ahead and change the arrows so that it's present there, and I can say that it should move to this specific plane so that it's pointing to that specific information. So I can go ahead and add again the same way I did for the previous ones. I can go inside application, click on GD&T advisor, and then start annotating all my information. So now I have all my information added here. So I have my notes here. I have my material property, which is here, which is again from my parameters. I have my datum features here, which is set. All these information are here, right? So I've added some manually. I've added some from the GD&T advisor. All those things are added here. Now, there are two ways of how we can read this. So we can save this as a 3D PDF and send it across to our customers, which they need, and then they can open it in a PDF viewer and then read this information. Or we can have Creo view, wherein we can save this file as a PVC file, and it can open in Creo view. Note that Creo View Lite is free to use, and it can be used by anyone without any licenses. So in case you send them this model information, they can go ahead and read that. So how do we do that? We go File, we go Save As, and then under Type, we click on Creo View, star.pvc file extension, and then we click on OK. Similarly, if I need a 3D PDF, if I just scroll down here, I have, if I just scroll down here to PDF View 3D, so I can save that as a 3D PDF extension. So I'm not going to do that now because I've already saved it. Let me just quickly bring that up here. So now you can see my 3D PDF. I can move my part. I can rotate. I can zoom into my specific part or zoom out of my specific part. Or maybe in case I need to rotate my part, I can go ahead and rotate my part as well. So I can do all those things. I can have my different views present here. I can see different views of the part, and I can see what those views, what information those views have as well. But again, this is from the PDF perspective. What if I have a PVC file, right? So what if I have a Creo file? So I can click on Open, and I can select one of these PVC file, which I've already opened here. You notice that on the left-hand side, initially when I open it, it shows up this way. So it just shows me the part, and I don't see any information which I've just created in my model-based definition. So if I go inside Viewables, it gives me individual combination state which is present, which I've created. So if I just go ahead and double-click on that, you can immediately see what information is there. Now, the best part about Creo View here is I have my markup tools, which even the free version has. I can go ahead and select my, I can go ahead and use these measurement options to, measure out the information which is there. This is the same 3D model which I have it in my Creo, but I can go ahead and dimension these. I can check my dimensions through these as well. But the thing is, the complete model is not copied here. If you just send out a PVC file, it basically sends out like an image file of that, and you can still go ahead and dimension these out. You can select, say if I need to dimension this, I can go ahead and select my diameter, and then I can go ahead and dimension this here from this. So that way I can go ahead and do those dimensioning as well. Another information which is here, which is actually good, is the design check. So what happens with design check is, let's consider this MBD6 datums combination state, and let's switch on our design check. So when I'm reading this, when someone is reading this, when it's been approved, I can say that, okay, I can select this information, I can say reject this information, and I can add a note. I can say, please remove this tag. It's not required, right? I can do this, and then I can have a tag attached to this information, and then I can send this across to my design team so that they can remove it and bring this model back here with Creo view. I can have information here. I can say, okay, so this, let me press and hold Control this, and this information. So these are approved, so I don't have to do anything. So I have these different colors, different information which is present here. The first one has a note attached to it, and I can read those notes here, and the other ones have are approved. So I can get this back to my designer, I can get that changed, and then get it back here without the need of paperwork here. So this is quite a helpful tool for us to work with, and we can go ahead and do that. We can add another thing inside GD&T Advisor, which I actually forgot to mention, wherein I can say edit properties, and I can say add some general properties, like say if add a general profile where it says unless otherwise specified, all surfaces needs to be in this tolerance value, and I can say okay, and that gets added. So I can move into let's say the reason it's not showing up now is because it's already been added. Let's move it here. Usually it displays here, and then we go ahead and add this, and then we select this display and then add the value, and then it lets me to place it where I need to. So this way I can add general information to this, and I can add a couple of more information inside titles or notes which I need to, and then I can bring that information here. So you see that when I move this to, when I move it to default all, it shows up in that surface. The notes gets moved to this surface. So what I can do is, if I need to assign this to a specific combination state, I can select these two and then move into annotate, and I can say assign to state, and I can select my state which needs to be where it needs to be added. So I'll move it to the notes, and once I move it to notes, I can say remove it from here. So now when I quickly move to the notes, you can see my general information which gets added here, the one which I used in the GD&T Advisor. So this was a quick overview of how our model-based definition works, how we can export this information to, from our Creo parametric to Creo view and get that information there. So I'm open to questions. If anyone has any questions, they can go ahead and type those questions in the chat window, in the question information box, and I can get in touch with you and answer some of your questions. So we also do online training. We also do virtual trainings. We also do in-center trainings. We also do on-site trainings as well. Just to know that all our presenters are certified trainers, and we will deep dive into each topics which is present. In case if you need to get in touch with us or with sales, you can take a screenshot of this information. There's my email ID. If you have any technical questions, you can shoot me an email, or if you have any information which is sales related, you can send an email to the sales. And this meeting is also recorded, and it would be posted in our YouTube on our YouTube channel. And make sure that you hit that subscribe in the channel and turn on that notification as well. So I'll be open for questions. If you have any questions, just let me know. So thank you, everyone. I don't see any questions in the chat or question box. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today on our Wednesday webinar. And if you do have any questions, just shoot out an email to us, and we would get back to you. And thank you for your patience, and thank you for your time, and have a very nice day.